Good morning and welcome to the Met Report. It is Friday, November 22nd. I'm Alex Petrich.
And I'm Laryss Rodriguez. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. As the fall semester comes to an end, registration season is officially here, meaning it's time to start planning for next semester's classes and fall commencement. If you haven't registered for classes for the upcoming spring semester, be sure to head over to the Student Hub to check your degree progress report, meet with your advisor, and of course, grab those spots before they fill up. And if you're planning on walking in this year's fall commencement taking place December 13th at the Colorado Convention Center, don't forget to register for graduation and RSVP through the Student Hub.
Denver County Police arrested a suspect accused of a deadly shooting near Auraria campus earlier this month near 1300 West Colfax Avenue. The suspect, D'Angelo Laryss, was arrested Monday and was arrested just a few days earlier for a warrant out for a completely unrelated investigation. Investigators said that Laryss and the victim were having an argument that led to the shooting. Police said Laryss is being held for investigation of first-degree murder in relation to the shooting.
Feeling stressed about finals? Well, the theater department at MSU has the perfect solution. Our reporter Zulema Pantoja has the details on this latest comedy production, Wintertime. Wintertime is a bold comic farce that weaves together the romantic misadventures of an electric group of lovers at a snow-covered vacation home. This play delves into themes of passion, betrayal, and the chaotic nature of love, following the stories of a young couple, their respective parents, and their secret lovers. With a clever blend of French farce and humor, Wintertime creates a theatrical snow globe full of desire and delusion. Expect slamming doors, couple swaps, and on love in the midst of the wintertime chaos. The production opened last week at the King Center, but don't worry, there's still time to catch the show. Performances run November 21st through the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. with a final matinee on November 24th at 2:30 p.m. in the MSU Denver Student Theater. Tickets can be purchased at the King Center box office or online. Just search MSU Denver Production in your browser. And good news for MSU students. Admission is free with your student ID, plus free parking is available for King Center events at the 7th Street Garage. You'll receive a code to waive the fee with your ticket purchase and a confirmation email. Don't miss your chance to laugh out loud and support MSU Theater's department this season. Denver's Central Library has a fresh new look after almost 6 years of renovations. The library is now open to the public.
That's right, Laryss. The renovation was funded by the Elevate Denver Bond Program, which was voted on back in 2017 to transform the library with some much-needed upgrades. Our reporter Cecilia Perez-Najera went down there to give us a closer look.
The Denver Central Library has long been a symbol of knowledge and community. This staple underwent the most transformative renovation since the Michael Graves-designed expansion in 1995. During the November 2017 elections, Denver voters overwhelmingly approved Measure 2E, which provided $69.3 million with the vision to renovate the Denver Central Library and alongside it 10 other branches as a part of the Elevate Denver Bond Program. Today, we get to see that vision come to life.
And I started working on this in 2016 with a visioning process about what the future could be. And we really wanted to enter that with a really open mind about what the Central Library means for Denverites and what it means in Colorado. We had about 50 meetings with community members when we were doing that visioning process to get to the Elevate Denver Bond. So we really tapped into our families who were coming to story times, really checked in with people who were unhoused about what they wanted to see here, checked in with the business community. We just really wanted to make sure that this building is providing a space for everyone and supports what anyone wants to do when they come here for their information journey.
The Central Library is being reimagined to meet the needs of a modern, dynamic city. Renovations include everything from a new event space to vibrant, redesigned areas for children and teens, creating an inviting atmosphere for the entire community.
I want individuals to find their place in this building. I think people will come to look for their house histories. We have a lot of displaced Aurarians looking for their their ancestors and trying to figure out if they have come from that place. We want people to come in if they're teenagers and find our teen space. I want young families to come in and enjoy story time here. If you need to make some prints, we have 100 free prints a day. I hope students know that they get to use this as a resource too. I know you have a great library on campus, your area library is amazing, but if you need a change of location, if you want to meet some friends who maybe live closer over here, this is a great place for students to meet up. On our 3rd floor, you can do a lot of research. You can even book an appointment if you have a research paper. So we've got a lot of student research availability, and so I hope students find this to be a welcoming place for them too.
For over a century, the Denver Public Library has evolved alongside its community, from its beginnings as the Grand Carnegie-funded library in the 1910s, modernized in the 1990s, to now the fully renovated Central Library, ready to serve the next generation.
I'm just hoping that people are finding their corner of our 500,000 square feet in this building.
For the Met Report, I'm Cecilia Perez Nájera.
Parents are getting worried about the education of their children. The reason?
The Denver Public School District has announced several school closures. Our reporter Kevin Zepeda has the story.
Children, parents, staff, and our communities. School closure is just another way for power to suppress marginalized communities, and we will not stand for it.
The past week, many parents of students that attended in Denver Public Schools District started to have concerns and worry about the closure of 7 schools and 3 that have been removed or reconstructed at grade level. The schools that are expected to close and reconstruct grade level are mostly elementary schools like Columbia, Castro, Schmidt, International Academy of Denver at Harrington, and Palmer Elementary. The schools that are being restructured in grade levels are Kunz Miller Creative Arts Academy, Dora Moore ECE 8 School, and DCIS Bake from grade 6 to 12.
Sustainable. We have seen decreases in the last 4 years of up to 10%. In fact, we've got one area of our city that's seen a 14% decrease in students in the last 4 years, and we're anticipating that continuing for the next 4 or 5 years based on what the state demographer is telling us, which means not only are we not getting enough money now, in the next several years, we're not going to be getting enough money. And so because of that, we've had to make some difficult decisions to decide how to help overcome that budget shortfall.
The Denver Public Schools said that it's expected to lose around 6,000 students by 2028.
The goal with this work is, we obviously don't know what's going to happen after those 4 or 5 years that are have been forecasted. So the hope is that by doing this, we don't see a major downturn over what's been forecasted, so we will be able to survive without closing additional schools. But in a couple of years, we're going to have to start looking at this again. In fact, the board, in their guidance that they gave to the superintendent, he has been directed to look at this every single year, but we don't anticipate there being a need to go through this process again for at least 2 or 3 years.
DPS said it will start considering about students' enrollment and recommending for closures, including the number of students who live in each area.
Even though the schools have already chosen, the Educational Board Office hasn't come up with an answer. This week, there's going to be a final decision whether to keep or close the schools permanently.
DSISD will no longer be able to function as an independent high school, and our children will not have the safe space that they have called home.
With Met Report, I'm Kevin Zepeda.
UC Health Hospital in Colorado has agreed to pay $23 million to settle claims of fraudulent billing related to emergency room visits. Here's what you need to know. The U.S. Attorney's Office accused UC Health of violating federal billing rules by automatically using the highest emergency room billing code for certain visits, regardless of the actual care provided. Between November 1st of 2017 and March 31st of 2021, UC Health allegedly used this code whenever a patient's vital signs were checked more times than the total number of hours the patient spent in the emergency department. Meanwhile, the coding didn't always reflect the actual resources used during the treatment. As a result of this, Medicare and TRICARE were billed for more expensive services than what patients actually received. In 2021, a whistleblower filed a complaint as a private individual in federal court under what is called a qui tam, which allows a realtor to bring action against a company or person on behalf of the government, triggering the investigation. The whistleblower will receive nearly $4 million as part of the settlement under the False Claims Act, which rewards individuals who report fraud. UC Health denies the allegations, but agreed to the settlement to avoid potentially lengthy and costly litigation. Adding on, the settlement allows us to focus on our resources on providing excellent patient care.
A UPS facility in Commerce City may see some difficulties at the start of the new year. The facility sent a letter to the state of Colorado stating that it will lay off over 400 workers after the holiday rush, one of the largest layoffs in Colorado this year. Although the facility still plans to hire seasonal workers for the holiday rush, many full-time employees will be affected by this adjustment as well, both union and non-union workers. In the letter, the company stated that the layoffs are expected to only be temporary due to, quote, changing business realities in the corporate network. Commerce City is not the only place affected. Earlier this year, UPS announced their future plan, which stated it would close up to 200 facilities within the next 5 years. This year alone, UPS has cut over 12,000 jobs across the country to meet increasing budget restraints. According to the same plan, the corporation means to implement more automated package hubs in an effort to save the company several $1 billion by 2028. Layoffs in Commerce City are expected to take effect on January 15th.
In cities like Denver, rentable scooters can be seen everywhere as a convenient way to get around. But rides may start to be more cautious going forward. The Colorado Court of Appeals recently handed down a landmark decision in which it ruled that electric scooter companies are not liable for accidents involving their users. Josie Harrington suffered multiple broken bones and other injuries after a rider on a Lime scooter crashed into her at the intersection of 14th in California back in 2020. Since the person responsible for the incident left without identifying themselves, Harrington moved to sue the company Lime for failure to adequately educate those who rent their scooters on how to safely operate them. However, the court struck down the motion this past Saturday, arguing that there is no legal basis for liability of rental companies for crashes caused by their renters.
Today is a sad day for the Met Media family, as our good friend and colleague Xavier Gauthier will be leaving us till next year.
Yes, Xavier has been a mainstay in our newsroom for years. And to say goodbye to him, we'd like to welcome in our former colleague, Will Martin, to talk about Xavier. Will, welcome.
Glad to be back, everyone. What can I say about Xavier? He has, since I joined Met Media, been a rock that everyone can count on. He started as my boss with radio and then moved over to TV with me as well, but he has just been an amazing mentor, colleague, and friend. We here at Met Media wish him the best of luck in his endeavors out in the Virgin Islands, and we'll welcome him back with open arms at the end of next May. So from everyone here, thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Will. I'd also like to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday,
from all of us
Will.
at Met TV. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we'll have Ben Pearse with politics.
Hello everyone, I'm Ben Pearse with all the latest news and politics. Let's see what's been going on from here to Washington, D.C. The weeks since the election have led to much discussion about how the new administration will handle the issues of the current one and what we can expect going forward. Our reporter Noah Block investigated and found that on foreign policy front, there may be more continuity than change.
For many people, Donald Trump's election victory just a couple weeks ago was a surprise. National and swing state polls had him and Kamala Harris in a virtual tie, and analysts predicted one of the closest elections in years. But that's not what happened. Trump won every battleground state, taking home an even larger share of the electoral vote than in 2016, as well as winning the popular vote by a margin of more than 2.5 million. One of the major issues in this cycle, especially for young voters, was the United States funding of Israel during its attempts to eliminate the group Hamas through all-out war on the Gaza Strip, which many have deemed ethnic cleansing or genocide. Back in September, I got the chance to speak with somebody who knows quite a bit about this conflict, Dr. Alex Petrich. He was detained earlier this year for being involved in a sit-in protest right here on the Auraria campus. The protest was aimed at MSU Denver's contracts with arms manufacturers who supply weapons to Israel. Petrich's trial date was moved back to November, then nearly at the last minute his charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. Now he weighs in on how the government's handling of Israel and Palestine impacted the election results.
Young people in particular, and Democrats in general, were frustrated by the fact that Kamala Harris really didn't distinguish herself from the Biden administration in terms of, for instance, sending weapons to Israel, or the question of a ceasefire. And it does seem like that could have played a part in the kind of low turnout, especially in places like Michigan, where the non-committed movement was particularly strong, which indicates voters who are concerned about the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. This isn't a vote that automatically goes to the Democrats, right?
I also asked the professor what changes we could expect in Middle East policy from the new administration.
The Trump administration committed the United States to Israeli policies that previous administrations hadn't been willing to, especially the move to Jerusalem, also the Abraham Accords, which really just reified a pre-existing reality of cooperation between some of the Gulf states and the Israeli government. Even though the Trump administration did take these acts, the Biden administration really didn't reverse them. As hard as it is to imagine that things could get worse, at least for Palestinians who just want to kind of live their lives, I don't think there's a floor, and I think things could get worse.
While Petrich doesn't see the possibility of war with Iran as a real threat, the acknowledgement of the hawkishness of Trump's advisors is representative of a larger rift in the Republican Party between more traditional isolationists and the so-called neoconservatives who strongly supported intervention in Iraq and Afghanistan.
After the killing of Soleimani, there was you saw, for instance, Iranian missile barrages at U.S. troops in Iraq that didn't lead to escalation, actually. So I think both sides fundamentally want to avoid a conflict, but at the same time, there's been a lot of saber rattling, and there are a lot of people in Iran in Donald Trump's orbit who have historically been pretty hawkish towards Iran.
With the reports coming out of Trump's fervently pro-Israel son-in-law, Jared Kushner, helping to shape his foreign policy, the question remains of if his second term will see a retreat from the Netanyahu government or more of the same. For the Met Report, I'm Noah Block.
Following the presidential election, Donald Trump has begun filling his cabinet, with one pick in particular drawing criticism and concern. President-elect Donald Trump chose former Representative Matt Gaetz, a Republican from Florida, as his pick for Attorney General. Following his nomination, the House Ethics Committee prepared to release their ethics report on Gaetz. The committee began their investigation after Gaetz' alleged involvement in sex trafficking and sexual misconduct that occurred while Gaetz was a sitting member of Congress. Gaetz resigned his House seat a day before the Ethics Committee reporting would have initially released. Members from both sides of the House welcomed the release of the ethics report prior to Gaetz' pending confirmation for Attorney General. Gaetz withdrew his nomination, stating, "It is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump/Vance transition." President-elect Donald Trump chose former Representative Matt Gaetz, a Republican from Florida, as his pick for Attorney General. Following his nomination, the House Ethics Committee prepared to release their ethics report into Gaetz. The committee began their investigation after Gaetz' alleged involvement in sex trafficking and sexual misconduct that occurred while Gaetz was a sitting member of Congress. Gaetz resigned his House seat a day before the Ethics Committee reporting would have initially released. Members from both sides of the House welcomed the release of the ethics report prior to Gaetz' pending confirmation for Attorney General. Gaetz withdrew his nomination for Attorney General, stating, "It is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump/Vance transition." Donald Trump has now nominated former Attorney General of Florida, Pam Bondi, for the position. The G20 summit, where 19 of the world's economic leaders gathered to discuss international economic cooperation, was held in Rio de Janeiro, addressing global challenges and showcasing key divisions among its members. Hosted by Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the summit prioritized responses to ongoing wars, a new global pact against hunger tax, and taxation of billionaires, and a long-awaited United Nations reform. While the declaration condemned humanitarian crisis in Gaza and Ukraine and called for an expanded aid, it stopped short of naming Russia and Israel directly. Argentina partially dissented, citing objections to clauses on billionaire taxation and social media regulation. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden reiterated support for Ukraine, as Russian President Vladimir Putin was notably absent. A Brazilian lead initiative, the Global Anti-Hunger Alliance, was heavily discussed and praised, with over 80 countries signing on and supporting the historic initiative. And nearly 80 years after the United Nations was founded, almost every nation agreed that the Security Council should be enlarged to include more voices and reflect the world of the 21st century. This recent election brought up several different concerns, from ballot box burning in Oregon to general security of boxes. To help answer many of the questions that some of you may have, our reporter Tyson Sintas went to the Denver County Clerk's office to see how the Denver County votes are counted and how safe voters' ballots truly are. Let's take a look.
Students voting this election season may feel a sense of worriness or wonder where their ballots are going. We got the opportunity to go to Denver's very own election facility to see where their ballots are going and how safe it truly is.
With recent reports of ballot boxes being set on fire in Oregon, many may feel concerned about their ballots and whether or not their votes would be safely counted in election facilities, such as the one here in downtown Denver. Denver's clerk and recorder Paul Lopez guarantees Denver County voters' ballots are safe and secure in every step of the process. From ballot boxes to collecting ballots and counting the votes, we spoke with Lopez about how safe Denver County's ballots are during this election.
Well, one, it's safe and secure to vote here in Denver and in Colorado. And one of the reasons why is because it's, these are, every time that there is a ballot that is handled by either us or one of our election judges or staff, it is handled by a bipartisan team. The other part of it is that they're paper ballots, right? So when every vote, no matter if it's through an accessible voting device, or our ballots that are coming in from overseas, right? They're all paper ballots. We mail them to you, and we can tabulate those, and we hold on to those for 25 months after the election. It's very important that we have paper ballots so that it is traceable, so it's trackable, and we can do an audit of those paper ballots afterward just to make sure that things were tabulated as intended. And then the other thing is that we test our voting equipment before and after every single election.
Once ballots arrive at the Denver Clerk and Recorder's election facility, they go through an extensive process to make sure every vote is sent in correctly and validated. Ballots are sorted and sent through a sorting system to be inspected and ensure the signature on an envelope is valid. If the machine is unable to detect the signatures as legitimate, the ballots will be removed and manually checked through the eyes of volunteers who have verified via voters' previous signatures from past elections or other records. From there, the ballots are moved to the casting room, where bipartisan workers open the envelopes and send them to be marked with a voting number to keep track of the individual votes, while staying anonymous. With these ballots labeled, the votes are officially counted still using Dominion voting systems, even after the lawsuits back in the previous presidential election. Over here at Denver Clerk and Recorder's election facility, I'm Tyson Sintas with the Met Report.
Well, that's all we have this week for politics. I've been Ben Pearse, bringing you all the updates in the political world. We'll see you next week with more news. But don't tune out just yet, because we have Brandi Rose with entertainment.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's eMet segment. I'm Brandi Rose, here to give you the latest updates in the world of entertainment. The Beehive is buzzing with anticipation as the NFL announced that none other than Beyoncé will be performing in the Christmas Day halftime show. It was announced on November 17th that Queen Bee will take to the stage during the Houston Texans-Baltimore Ravens game at NRG Stadium at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The game will be streamed on Netflix and be broadcasted on TV in competing team cities. This will be the first live performance of songs from the genre-blending and record-breaking album Cowboy Carter. Beyonce previously performed at Super Bowl 47 and 50, so she is no stranger to performing at an NFL halftime show. The 98th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is making its way to the Big Apple again. The parade is debuting 6 all-new giant character balloons, brand new floats, entertainment's biggest stars, and marching bands from all over the country for this year's Fall Classic. The balloons that are joining the cast this year include the parade debut of Minnie Mouse, Gabby from DreamWorks Animation's Gabby's Dollhouse, an all-new version of Goku, Marshall from Paw Patrol, and a brand new Elf on the Shelf balloon that will be in the lineup alongside Beagle Scout Snoopy, SpongeBob and Gary, as well as Bluey and the Pillsbury Doughboy. Macy's will also be debuting new floats that include a Haribo Gummy Bear float and Dora's Fantastical Rainforest, both of which will feature smaller novelty balloons to go along with the float. The parade will also feature the likes of T-Pain, Charlie D'Amelio, and the return of Jimmy Fallon and the Roots. The King Center has always put on jazz concerts for all the students on the Auraria campus. This past Wednesday, both CU Denver and MSU Denver students showcased their craft. Our reporter Luke Maestas has more on the story.
The CU Denver and MSU Denver Jazz and Performing Arts performed on the main stage Wednesday, showcasing their talent with variety styles of jazz. Vibraphone player Ethan Sullivan explained to us why the vibraphone separates itself from its sibling, the xylophone. Sullivan shared how she, as a musician, got into playing the vibraphone.
I was a pianist, and when I went to high school, there's no piano in band, right? So the director put me on the vibraphone, and it was a lot of fun to play. But then, I graduated high school, spent a few years out of college, and hadn't touched it for a while. So to join this group with the opportunity to play the vibraphone again, that was really nice and special.
And speaking of keys, pianist Hunter Gamble played 2 different types of keys during the concert and shared with us why Gamble prefers the grand piano out of all the keys.
Nothing beats a grand piano. That's always going to be my favorite. I just kind of started getting into the organ stuff, so I didn't feel super comfortable, but I think I made my way through it. But yeah, I don't think anything beats just playing a standard acoustic piano.
CU Denver senior Mason Unthank, who was on the guitar, felt bittersweet about performing with it being his senior year, because jazz has been a passion of his ever since he started attending CU Denver.
It's obviously bittersweet. It's a little unfortunate that I have to not be here next semester and play with all these awesome musicians, but I intend to stay in touch and hopefully just keep honing my chops and getting after it.
If you would like to come to one of these concerts, go to the MSU Denver events calendar and look under Arts and Culture. For the Met Report, I've been Luke Maestas.
It has been a month since his passing, and fans across the globe continue to honor the life and legacy of One Direction member Liam Payne. In Colorado, devoted supporters gathered for a heartfelt tribute to remember the singer who left an indelible mark on all of their lives.
Fans across Colorado gathered at City Park in Denver on November 2nd to honor the memory of Liam Payne, the former One Direction member who passed away at the age of 31 on October 16 after falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The memorial tribute brought together directioners from various parts of the state to celebrate Payne's life, music, and the impact he had on millions of fans worldwide. The event at City Park saw an outpouring of love and remembrance for the artist. Fans left heartfelt tributes in the form of flowers, letters, and photos in a touching gesture reminiscent of concert traditions. Many attendees made friendship bracelets and got fake One Direction matching tattoos as a symbol of their enduring connection to Payne and his music. One dedicated fan, Casey, traveled from Longmont, Colorado to join fellow Directioners in commemorating Payne's life. As a longtime One Direction supporter, Casey shared her reaction when she first heard the news and how much the band meant to her.
So I have been a fan of One Direction since about the What Makes You Beautiful era. I have seen them 6 times in concert. They just make me so happy, and this is a really sad time of my childhood because no one ever knew this was going to happen. And realizing that but we won't ever get a One Direction reunion. It's really hard on not just me, but every girl from my era and everything like that. And I'm heartbroken, but I'm heartbroken, and they mean the world to me because they've got me through a lot of really hard times in my life, and I don't know what I would do without them. And there are days where I say I miss Five Boys so much, and now we won't ever get a reunion, and that's what makes my heart, because I can't ever share those moments with my daughter. So.
Casey's journey to Denver shows the deep emotional connection many fans still feel towards the band and its member. Payne's influence on music and his fans' lives remains strong as his legacy lives on in the hearts of many and the many tributes around the world, not only by fans but also people in the industry. Early this week, on Wednesday, November 20th, Liam's family, friends, and former One Direction bandmates came together to pay tribute to the One Direction star at his funeral. As for now, there's still an ongoing investigation in Argentina, and currently, 3 people are facing criminal charges for crime related to his death. For the Met Report, Zulema, Pantoja.
Well, that's all we have for you on this week's entertainment segment. Stay tuned because after the break, we have Luke Maestas with sports.
What's up, sports fans? It's your boy Luke Maestas, here to bring you all the important updates in sports. So without further ado, let's get the ball rolling. MSU Denver women's volleyball is fighting for an RMAC title ahead of the NCAA Division II tournament. Having posted another standout season, our reporter Alex Petrich went down to the Auraria Events Center to hear from the team as they continue their dominant run in the conference. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I would say our culture is really important to our team. We have a lot of different aspects to our culture, but I would say our unity is really important on this team. We're definitely a unit and we like to do everything together, good or bad. So like when we're all on it, we're all on it. And I think that our love for each other is also really important, and we play for each other, and that's what makes us so good. So.
Pressure is a privilege. At least, that's how the Roadrunners approach it. They're currently 25-2, 14-0 in conference play, second ranked in the NCAA regional polls. High praise. But the focus is not on the rarefied air that they occupy. It's on the Regis Rangers, who they face tonight at the Athletics Center in Game 2 of the RMAC tournament.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we do get that title, and being highly ranked is really cool, and I think it does boost our confidence a little bit just knowing that we are pretty good, but I think it doesn't play too much of a role. Like, it's nice to know and celebrate, but I think just keep pushing and working hard and continuing that no matter what ranking or title we have is what we focus on.
This year's team continues the trend of stellar volleyball being played at Metro, as in the last 9 years, the Roadrunners have won 80% of their games, 90% in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, and at the helm for the last 9 years, head coach Jenny Glenn, talking about the character of her team.
I think it's like a function of last year's team and this year's kind of just extended. It was just like that love can be strong. I know that sounds crazy, but that love doesn't have to be soft, and it's actually really fierce, and we can love each other well, and we can go out and compete really, really hard, and that makes it a fun group to be around. You know, that we can show up for each other when things are hard, or you know, when somebody in our program is facing crisis, but we can also show up for them on the volleyball court when things aren't going well. And how do we press into that, and how do we show up for each other? And I think they continue to show me a different way of doing things, you know, maybe than the way that I've always done it or always thought, and how to leverage that and use it for all of our good.
The Roadrunners have amassed 7 RMAC tournament championships, with 1 under Glenn. And with numerous Coach and Player of the Year awards, it's been one of the most impressive runs in Division II women's volleyball history. After last year's loss to Regis in the RMAC final, the team has stayed the course, committed to themselves and each other as they face the postseason again.
I mean, I just want to shout out the coaches. They do harp a lot on having that culture and unity. I think unity is a big piece of who we are and like our identity, and like we just count on each other and we basically are like a family. So that helps a lot because we have those relationships built outside the court. So it makes it easier to be bonded with the girls inside the court too. So
For the Roadrunners, pressure is a privilege. And for all of us at Metro, it is a privilege to watch them play. For the Met Report, I'm Alex Petrich.
The Professional Women's Hockey League is coming to Ball Arena next year as a part of the league's 2025 Takeover Tour, an effort to grow the game and increase visibility for women's hockey. In its second season, the league will host 9 neutral site games throughout the U.S. and Canada. There are 6 teams, including Boston, New York, Minnesota, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa, will begin their campaign January 1st. The Minnesota Frost will face off against the Montreal Victory on Sunday, January 12th, at the home of the Colorado Avalanche. Pre-sale tickets went up yesterday, but general tickets opened up today, giving fans the opportunity to secure tickets and to support women's hockey. Roadrunner hockey is set to return to the ice when they face University of New Mexico Lobos tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Blue Sports Stable in Superior, but not before securing 2 big back-to-back wins against the University of Denver and Colorado State. MSU Denver took down the Pioneers 3-2 in overtime, thanks to the game winner from right wing, Jackson Tillinghast, with linemate Tanner Calderola and defenseman Soren Bredesen, finding the back of the net, securing the W for the Birds. The following weekend, the Roadrunners were back on the ice in Fort Collins to face off against the Rams, and thanks to the contributions of Nathan Harmio, Jackson Tillinghast, Matthew Clift, Bryce Morgales, Soren Bredesen, and Jackson Brandenhorst defeated CSU 8-1. Our reporter Brandi Rose spoke with assistant captain Soren Bredesen, who recently returned from the lineup from injury, with 4 points in his first 2 games back. Here's what he had to say.
Definitely missed it. I love being around the rink, love being with the boys and being able to skate, get back on the ice and get going. Off a W is definitely big for the team and everything. It's definitely good to start leading off break and some win in the win column, making sure that we're able to get the wins rolling into the second semester and get some momentum going. We got a few tough more games coming up, and with the max goal diff, looking ahead towards the rankings and trying to work our way back to where we want to be.
Irv Brown was a former MSU Denver baseball coach and a professional sports broadcaster. MSU has kept Irv's legacy alive after his passing in 2019 with the Irv Brown Scholarship. Our reporter Laryss Rodriguez attended this year's conference.
The Irv Brown Scholarship serves to those majoring in sports management or sports journalism. Students are gathered today in the JSSB building to learn more on this great opportunity.
To be able to keep his spirit alive at a school where he was the first baseball coach and he's in the Roadrunner Hall of Fame, just means the world to me to be able to help kids and honor Irv.
This year's conference was flooded with students aspiring to enter the sports industry. And each student had the opportunity to sit in on multiple panels and learn from the best.
This is an investment of your time and an investment also into the future. I'm not here to collect business cards, to collect resumes, and then to go by my merry way. I'm here to go and pour in my life to other individuals.
2 students were awarded the scholarship, and among these 2 students is Sofia Nazarenes, a senior pursuing a degree in sports journalism. When applying for the scholarship, Sofia said she never thought it would be her who got it.
Like, you miss opportunities you don't take. It doesn't hurt to apply. It never hurts because you never know what's going to come from it. I didn't think I was going to win, and obviously, I didn't expect this outcome, so I'm very grateful.
Irv Brown's legacy will live on forever at MSU Denver, and the hope for the scholarship is that students will follow in his footsteps as a coach and as a broadcaster. For the Met Report, I'm Laryss Rodriguez.
But that ends our sports segment. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for all the updates on sports. Now let's send it back to the desk with Alex and Laryss.
Thank you, Luke. Now, Laryss, we saw I mean, we're coming up on Thanksgiving break, or fall break, and I was wondering, how do you plan on spending your break?
Well, my life usually consists of either school or work, so I guess it's just going to be work now for break. What about you, Alex?
I'm looking forward to seeing family. I know that the Thanksgiving slots for football aren't the greatest, so I'll probably just try to spend time around family as much as I can.
Nice. I'm excited for that Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, that's all we have for you today.
Be sure to check out more of our content at mymetmedia.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on our weekly broadcast.
From all of us here at the Met Report, thank you for joining us. I'm Laryss Rodriguez.
And I'm Alex Petrich. Until the next time, have a great day. Welcome back. We wanted to come back to offer our sincerest condolences and sympathies to our former colleague Trenton Sanders, who earlier this week lost his mother, Mama Ty.
On behalf of everyone at Met TV, we extend our grief to the Sanders family during this time.
Tiana Sanders was an amazing woman, and she will be dearly missed by everyone whose lives she touched. Trenton, we're always here for you, buddy, and good luck to the Lakewood Tigers tomorrow in the championship game.
Have a great day, everyone.